Hey everybody, welcome to 3/5 podcast channel. We are Gotcha Thrones. It is me and Cece at Carmilla Lusta. And every week we come on here and review Game of Thrones. Let's get the housekeeping stuff out of the way now. You can watch us live here, obviously on YouTube. You can come to our channel anytime after this. We will have this video up. You can also go to the website, 3fifthspodcast.com, and either watch the video there or listen to the audio. You can also find us on Stitcher, search 3/5 Podcast. And these podcasts, along with the 3/5 live show tomorrow, will be in that list. We don't do a separate channel for each one. It's just all grouped together. So you can find us on Stitcher. You can find us on Twitter at the number 3/5 FIFS podcast. You can find her at Carmilla Lusta. You can find me at AYRRYK. Follow us, tweet at us with the hashtag Gotcha Thrones. I believe that is all of our major housekeeping stuff. Oh, and if you rate us 5 stars, we will read them on the show, assuming that it is not something horrifyingly offensive, or if it is horrifyingly offensive, if we don't mind it. So, be funny, and we'll see what happens. We will try to focus on reading the Game of Thrones centric ones here and the 3/5 podcast centric ones over there. So we'll handle that sorting for you. Just kind of say which show you're referencing. I believe that's everything I got. You got anything, ZZ?
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Nice. All right. So let's open it up. First impressions of the show. I will say, as a book reader, this was kind of what I was hoping for from this season. A lot of stuff that I did not expect. Plenty of stuff that is not in the books happened here. I like a lot of the changes. I think they make sense for how they laid things out. So I am not really bothered by the changes that they made, though I'm sure there are book fans out there who are irate. Also, having looked at the preview for the next season, I can say with confidence, Barristan Selmy is the first one. Well, we don't know if he's the first one, but he's definitely one of the people who they said were alive in the books who will be dead this season. And so our first one is Sir Barristan, who could not summon enough old man strength to take down the Sons of the Harpy. Old man strength is powerful, but he couldn't use it to overcome all of them. It's a true tragedy. We lost a great hero of Westeros. Cece, what were your overall kind of first impressions of the episode?
I was very, very upset at the ending, but then I remember this is Game of Thrones. I shouldn't have seen this coming, but I was still upset. But otherwise, it was a very, very good episode. So it was like we got to see, Cersei and all her schemes. We got to, and of course, we saw actually Stannis has a heart a bit. And of course, Khaleesi keeps growing up.
Yeah. I did like the humanization of Stannis. Daenerys has been a great example. I think we've mentioned it on here before about the fact that a lot of this was likely influenced by the war in Iraq and Afghanistan when this was written. And so you see kind of that developing quagmire of not understanding a culture and a people and, it really effing you over. Also, Game of Thrones seemed to have a lesson of don't trust prostitutes, because that's really what can get people in trouble here. These hoes ain't loyal. Hoes ain't loyal. All right, so let's get into the actual episode for this one. I guess if you'd like to follow along or something, we tend to use the Game of Thrones wiki as a general kind of guideline for where we're going to go, though we will deviate, but it gives us a nice way to kind of recap what happened. We don't necessarily always go seat by seat. So in King's Landing, Mace Tyrell is explaining that the Iron Bank of Bravos is calling in a tenth of the crown's debts. The Iron Bank of Bravos, you'll remember, is who Stannis went to for a small business loan when he was trying to get this King of Westeros business off the ground. And so he went to the Iron Bank. Sir Davos makes the case for why they should back him as well as a means of covering their investment. And so Stannis gets the money and they start round 2 of their war. And now they're calling in the debts that the Baratheon / Lannister / Tyrell dynasty owe them. So Mace has sent by Cersei under the guise of Tommen to go and argue their case. You'll notice he's accompanied by ominous music and Sir Meryn Trant. You'll remember Sir Meryn Trant was also the guy who was next to Cersei when she got the dwarf head that was not Tyrion's. He is one of Cersei's henchmen. He's been in several scenes of Cersei doing not nice things and is completely in her pocket and has now been sent along with Mace to the Iron Bank with the suggestion that he may not be making the trip back thanks to Sir Meryn. Pycelle then comments that the small council is getting smaller, and Cersei comments that it's not small enough. After this, Cersei meets with the High Septim and really starts to get her plot in motion as far as the Faith Militant and depowering Marjorie's family. She sent Mace off potentially to his death. She sicks the High Sparrow and the Faith Militant on her former betrothed, and weakens her son as well because they have absolutely no interest in listening to her and listening to her son, Tommen, who is at this point an ineffectual king. Tommen gets punked out at the gates after Marjorie sends him to go get her brother back, and he goes back to Marjorie like, oop, I couldn't, he was praying. And Marjorie storms off like, I'm going to go talk to my grandmother. I need to be with my family right now. We need to regroup and figure this out, because Cersei, who was supposed to be out of it, has just dealt them a major blow. And we also see Lancel get a 7-pointed star in his head. So what did you think of all of our... we had a lot happen in King's Landing. What did you think of everything going down there, Cece?
Cersei is showing us she is not the bitch to be messed with, first of all. Secondly, do you see the development between mother versus wife?
Yeah.
And poor Tommen, he's the complete 180 of his brother, where Joffrey was a sadistic bastard. Tommy's just a sweetheart doormat.
Yeah. He just wanted to play with cats, Sir Pounce.
He just wanted to play with cats, just live his life, and then next thing you know, he's being pulled these different ways by the Tyrells, and then of course his mother, who really his mother is actually trying to pull like the Eleanor Roosevelt in a way, running the kingdom for him. Because he is clearly too young to do that. And, well, granddaddy's dead, so.
Yeah, and he's also not that bright. Like, even that speech Tywin gave him, which wasn't a wrong speech, but the moral of the speech was, and that's why you need to let me run the kingdom until I'm dead or feel like you're smart enough to at least show it running it, at which point you should still listen to me about what you should do. Well, now he's dead, and his doormat of a grandson doesn't know what's going on. Marjorie's yelling at him, and he's like, I thought you and Mom were getting along. You all seem so nice and friendly to each other. She's just like,
Marjorie's like, is you serious? Your mother hates me.
Yes. She cut him off the kitty. Like, all he wants to do is play with the kitty. And Marjorie's cut him off. I need to be with my family.
Mm-hmm. So basically, Cersei has gotten herself involved with the Westeros version of ISIS.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
And
maybe.
yes, they're ISIS.
Yeah, yeah, they are Westerosi ISIS.
Sis. So, but I think honestly, I'm kind of foreshadowing a bit, but that's gonna play on her because in the future, because Lancel, of course, is her cousin is part one of the Sparrows, so that is
Yes.
going to backfire on her eventually because incest is kind of looked frowned upon.
Yes, the cousin she was having sex with who helped her poison her husband. Well, at the very least, got him way too drunk to hunt and possibly
Mm-hmm.
poisoned him, is
Mm-hmm.
also part of the Faith Militant. And so she's playing a very dangerous game because you even see when Tommen goes to the Sept to
Mm-hmm.
try to see the High Sparrow, part of why he stops is everyone starts yelling, unnatural,
Bastard.
bastard, monster, all these things. And so those seeds of they don't believe that Tommen is a Baratheon have already been sown. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can already see things beginning to stack up to where Cersei could very quickly end up on the wrong side of these guys. Because as she said, she doesn't control the Faith Militant. The High
Mm-hmm.
Sparrow does. And he seems to be a true believer.
Mm-hmm. And I think Cersei thinks that because she was able to manipulate men in the past to do what she wants, that she can do the same with the High Sparrow. But this might end up. I really, honestly think this is going to turn against her favor.
Yeah, this is a really dangerous position for her to put not only herself, but the entire kingdom is. I mean, she is very much upsetting the status quo with this. Littlefinger's brothel is getting sacked. People are getting dragged out and beaten. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have
And
let loose a crusade in your own country. There's a reason that the other kings, when they did a crusade, they sent them far, far away.
mm-hmm. And then another thing that just dawned on me because they don't think that Tommen is a Baratheon, she actually put him in danger as well.
Yes. So remember, she's trying to keep power to protect her kids, but as we all know,
Mm-hmm.
never fight the prophecy. You always make it come true. She
Yep.
may have set in motion the wheels that will cause Tommen to be killed
Mm-hmm.
because they believe he's the product of incest. And the witch said, your children will have golden shrouds. This could end up being how Tommen dies, is that she starts the Faith Militant off and
Mm-hmm.
they quickly spiral out of control. Which, I mean, you could argue they're already out of control, like dragging people out, beating them. Though, everyone who's been complaining that there hasn't been enough dick on Game of Thrones, you got
Mm-hmm.
some this week. Granted, it was during a speech about how homosexuality is unnatural, and we're pretty sure they killed those guys, but it was on
Mm-hmm.
there.
On there.
That's progress.
Much, much progress. So we
Any
go
other thoughts on
on
King's Landing?
King's Landing. Besides Cersei is possibly giving Westeros to ISIS. It's not really much. And then of course we see how but I actually, you know what? It just dawned on me. Marjorie said she was going to go be with her family. Well, her.
Yes.
So that means she's going to go talk with Grandma Tyrell.
Yes, she said she had to send word to her grandmother. So we may see Olenna return to
Mm-hmm.
try to take this situation in hand as Cersei has let loose. I mean, you also heard in there the Faith Militant had been done away with,
Mm-hmm.
either when the Targaryens arrived or around that time, they went, oh no, these guys are a problem, and disbanded and disarmed them. And you're beginning to see why you don't let these massive independent armies wander around, accountable to no one and nothing but their belief.
Yep. Because you can't control, because at the end of the day, they don't answer to you. They answer to High Sparrow.
And he doesn't answer to anyone.
Exactly.
So from there, we move to Dorne. Jaime and Bronn, our new buddy comedy. Jaime and Bronn are aboard a ship. They get let off early. Bronn kind of calls Jaime out for, why are we doing this? It's like, well, I want to rescue my niece. And Bronn just looks at him, niece? No one.
Bitch, please.
No one believes that. And so then they take a quick, they go to sleep. They wake up the next day and discuss, life, the universe, and everything. And Bronn's, they're asked, like, talking about how do they want to die. Bronn's like, I want to die rich in my castle with my kids arguing over my money because I led an interesting life. I want to have a boring death. And Jaime's like, I just want to die in the arms of the woman I love. And Bronn knows who he's talking about. And he's just like, do you think that's what she wants? Like, and we know the answer is no. Cersei doesn't want that. What Cersei wants is power. She wants her children to live. She wants control. She doesn't want Jaime, at least not to the same degree that Jaime would like to. I don't even know if Jaime really wants her that much, so much as he's done all of this stuff to be close to her.
Yeah, it's like
sacrificed all this, and so now he's just like, well, I want to die in her arms, and it's just like, dude, let it go.
Bronn throws some great shade. So because he was like, now, dude, you know good and well that's not your niece, that's your daughter niece.
Yeah,
because it's like, because like everybody knows that Jaime is possibly is the dad of all three of Cersei's children. They are not Baratheons.
Yeah, and so Bronn kind of calls him out on that a little bit. Then they get attacked by some Dornish soldiers. The suggestion being that Bronn was right. As soon as the captain dropped him off, he went to the next town, told them, hey, I dropped Jaime Lannister off, and now these guys have come to investigate. Bronn takes most of them out, and Jaime finds a use for that golden hand. Then makes Bronn bury the bodies because, hey, I only have one hand, dude. What am I going to do? After
Border
that,
Patrol.
Yeah, Border Patrol picks them up, but they take them out. And then after that, we see Ellaria Sand with the Sand Snakes, Oberyn Martell's bastard daughters. She talks to them a little bit and basically is like, look, your uncle isn't going to go to war with the Lannisters, but I think we can still push it, especially if we, kill or at least kidnap Myrcella. They each ask about, she asks them what they're going to do. They explain, we found this Pentoshi sailor, and he says he dropped Jaime Lannister off here, and they realize, okay, we have to hurry because Jaime's obviously here to save Myrcella and smuggle her out. Obara then explains that when she was a kid, Oberyn came to visit her to take her to court, and her mother was like, no, she's not ready. And Oberyn basically told her, you can choose to stay here and cry, or you can choose to pick up a spear and fight your battles. She then takes a spear and throws it into the guy's head, saying that she made her choice a long time ago.
Totally badass. Might add.
So we get to see the Sand Snakes. I was pretty excited about this part because they are much talked about and pretty major characters. Once we get to this point in the books, they play a pretty big role. Not to mention, them and Ellaria are kind of the last bits we have left of Oberyn now. And you get to see a bit more of his personality. And he has 8 daughters, all of the ones who were of age. He taught to fight or had them taught to fight. You get to see, I believe it's Nymeria and her spear. You see Obara and her spear. I can't remember which is the other one. Tien is the other one you see. I can't recall off the top of my head what her weapon is. It may have been a sword or daggers, but I'm not positive. And she is Alaria's daughter. Because you notice she calls her mother. Alaria is not the mother of all of the Sand Snakes. They're Oberyn's daughters from multiple different relationships. But he collected all of them and brought all of them to court. So.
I'm really looking forward to the Sand Snakes. Because it's just like they're gonna come. I really hope they get to see Cersei face to face. That's gonna be hilarious.
Yeah. Yes, and I mean you also kind of get to see how different Dorne is from everywhere else in the clothing style. There's a lot more robes, a lot of different looser garments, face coverings. It's clearly a very hot and kind of arid place, as well as you get to see more kind of the empowerment where women have a lot more voice. They, wield weapons. The former paramour of the prince is able to walk up to the ruler of Dorne and be like, "Hey, you're effing up," and he doesn't order his bodyguard to take her head off. So I really liked being able to get to see more of Dorne, as well as see Jaime and Bronn make some real progress towards actually getting where they're supposed to be going. So, especially since we're a little short of halfway through the season, it's also nice to see them making some real progress. So we jump again to the Free Cities. Jorah Mormont. This is actually where the episode opens. Jorah knocks out a fisherman and leaves him some cash and drags Tyrion onto the boat. They begin sailing off. Tyrion begins to deduce who Jorah is and what's going on. He initially thinks the queen he's being taken to is Cersei. He's like, but you're going the wrong way. So, well, I'm taking Daenerys, which Tyrion just laughs at because that's where he was trying to get to all along. But he quickly figures out that that this is Sir Jorah, who was a spy for Varys, and that he likely was found out and thrown out of Dany's entourage, and questions Jorah's plan. Like, you think that she's going to, let you live and kill me and welcome you back into the fold. But odds are just as good that when we get there, she'll decide to kill you and I'm the one who will live, at which point Jorah smacks him across the face and goes back to sailing. So.
And of course, we cannot forget Tyrion just basically read Sir Jorah for filth. He was like, so you're taking me because so why were you in a brothel? Huh? So basically you probably got kicked out and you're probably taking me there to help make up for it. And he knows he's right, so it's like nothing he can really say in response to that.
Yes, and so it's a great scene because, I mean, it also shows you why Dany needs Tyrion. Tyrion sits there, thinks about where he met him at, looks at what he has with him. Bear sigil, that's the House Mormont, but you're wearing dragon epaulets, so you used to serve Daenerys, but you're extremely far away from her, drinking in a whorehouse. How are you serving her there? You weren't serving her there, so somehow you got thrown out. How would you have gotten thrown out? Varys had a spy. It must have been you. And he makes all of those connections, and he's completely right. And that's why Danny needs him, because he is logical, he's observant, he, talks about, well, I was drunk at most of those meetings, but I remember a little bit. And so you must be this guy. And he shows why Danny needs him, because she needs someone with that kind of keen political mind, that kind of observance, that kind of person who can cut through a lot of the noise and posturing, because a lot of the people she has with her just aren't that skilled. Or if they are that skilled, they're not necessarily working toward her ends. They're working towards their own. So.
And basically, none of them know how to rule.
Yes. None of them know how to rule. And the closest ones to knowing how to rule don't want the kind of rule she's imposing. So, next we go to the wall. Melisandre tries to seduce Jon Snow, and he's just like, no. Like, look, we both know I like redheads, but this isn't going to happen. You're not my type. At which point she pulls the "you know nothing, Jon Snow." At which point I think he would have been warranted to slap her. I don't support hitting women. I don't think you should hit women. I'm not saying that it would be okay. I'm saying she knowingly pulled your dead ex-girlfriend saying out to hit you with it because you refuse to sleep with her. That's messed up. I don't know how much I could blame him for hitting her.
Say no to fire, Bessie. You see what she's done to Stannis.
Yeah. We also see some very interesting hints dropped here. Because if you pay attention, first you see Stannis and his wife watching Jon Snow. And Stannis' wife goes, well, you really like this kid. And Stannis is like, yeah, I do. I mean, clearly. And she's basically like, I should have given you a son. But she also says that he's just the son of some tavern whore. And Stannis replies, that wasn't Ned Stark's way. Suggesting that he doesn't believe the story that Ned Stark just slept with some random woman and came back with Jon Snow. That
fills the room, the theory a lot of fans has that Jon Snow is not Ned's child. He's actually the child of Rhaegar and Ned's sister.
Yes,
because we do not know how she died.
Yes, and you get another hint at it about Melisandre being so interested in him. The only other person she's tried to sleep with has been Stannis because he has king's blood in him. And she talks about how there's power in king's blood. You also see Peter Baelish later on. He's talking to Sansa and talks about how beautiful her aunt was and how Rhaegar Targaryen's interest in her caused this entire war. And she's like, yeah, he kidnapped and raped her. And Baelish just kind of shrugs like, he doesn't necessarily believe that she went with him unwillingly. And I want to say, that was the other one. And when Sir Barristan talks to Daenerys, he talks about a guy who hated killing, who used to go into the streets and sing. And you get this other hint that Rhaegar's character was not this kind of guy to just go and kidnap someone and rape her. Like, no one who knows him or interacted with him besides Robert Baratheon seems to really believe that this is what happened. So we didn't necessarily get confirmation in this. Keeping in mind, there's several potential people who could be Jon Snow's parents. One possibility is that it is Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark. Another possibility is that it was Ned, but it was Ned and another woman, another royal woman who was also at the tournament at Harrenhal, who his brother, his older brother actually introduced Ned and her and got her to dance with him because Ned was too afraid to go over and talk to her. There's also the possibility that it's Ned's older brother's child, and that Ned's older brother could have slept with her, and that part of why, you know, he has all this consternation about Jon Snow is because if Jon were legitimized, he would be the heir over even Ned. There's also the possibility that it really is the son, his child with Wyla, a nursemaid, I believe. And one of my more favorite theories is that it's actually his younger brother. And that's why his younger brother took such an interest in him, that his younger brother slept with this particular lady, and maybe not necessarily by her choice, and that Ned forced him to join the Night's Watch. Because we never really find out why his younger brother chose to join the Night's Watch, other than he wasn't likely to inherit, but plenty of people just go and start smaller houses. So one possibility is Ned's younger brother got drunk and attacked this woman. She got pregnant and had a child. Ned Stark raised him and sent his brother off to the Wall to atone for his sins. So we have no idea for sure who Jon Snow's parents are. It could be Rhaegar and Lyanna. It could be Ned Stark and two other women. It could be one of Ned's brothers. So no one is really quite sure, but Ned has claimed him as his bastard for whatever reason, either to protect his family or to protect Jon Snow, because that would also make him the closest Targaryen heir on the continent. Who until recently had not forsworn the throne. So
so that's gonna, and then of course Stannis is still on this whole you should be a Stark, that way you can go to Winterfell, yada yada yada. And we're just like, okay.
Yeah, it's everything Jon wanted, but he can't accept it now. Even though he doesn't want to sign the request letter to Roose Bolton that Sam hands him, like, no, I won't request troops from this man. And Sam's just like, look, he has people to send that he could send to us. We need these recruits. There's 50 of us here. You need to sign this letter to him so that we can rebuild our numbers. We have to protect the realm. So we get a little touch of character growth from Jon Snow. We also get to see a tough moment for Stannis as he explains to his daughter why it is she has grayscale and how he feels about her. He explains that he bought her this doll that was infected with grayscale in an attempt to assassinate the family, and that he clearly feels some level of guilt for giving her the doll. And then once she got sick, everyone just told him, you need to send her away. You need to get rid of her. You need to kill her. And he was like, no, I went. I got every maester I could. I made sure you were healed and you were safe. And I'm not sending you off anywhere. You're a princess. You're a Baratheon. And you're my daughter. And then he kind of gives her a hug because he's clearly not a warm and fuzzy kind of guy. But we begin to see, more of Stannis and what he could potentially be like as a ruler, because arguably he's probably what, the second best father we've seen so far.
Mm-hmm. And that's sad.
Yes. Yes, it is.
That's very, very sad.
Yeah. So then, as we covered a little bit before, we see Sansa in the north, and she basically begins to learn the story that there was a big tournament at Harrenhal. All of the major people were there. Rhaegar ended up winning and laid the crown of beauty on Lyanna's lap instead of his wife's. We also get a little bit from Littlefinger about how amazed he was to be there. The Mad King, Rhaegar Targaryen, the Stark children, the Baratheon boys, the Tully girls were there. Like, it doesn't get covered as much in the show, but they discuss more in the books. This was the event, and I believe in the books it is held for Jaime joining the Kingsguard.
Mm-hmm.
So that Jaime is going to officially join the Kingsguard, and so they hold a massive tournament, and everyone except Tywin Lannister goes, because Tywin is still pissed about Jaime being selected to join the Kingsguard, because he knows it's Aerys trying to steal his only male heir. Well, aside from Tyrion, but we know Tywin doesn't count him. And so we discover that, we get to hear a little bit about this major event, which is what sparks off the war. It's what sparks off, RL equals J. It's what sparks off. I believe this is also where Littlefinger's anger at the Starks starts off. That this is where he challenges Brandon Stark to a fight and loses and is shamed, because this is also when Brandon has been betrothed to Catelyn at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is literally where all of the events we're seeing now are born out of this tournament. Because this, Lyanna disappears, Brandon rides to King's Landing and demands justice. King Aerys kills him. Brandon is already, embarrassed Littlefinger, and Littlefinger begins his plotting. And the war breaks out, and, the marriages happen, and Jon Snow is conceived, and all of the things we're dealing with now spiral out of Harrenhal. And so we get to hear a little bit about it. And then Littlefinger explains to Sansa, look, you're in the north. Stannis is going to come attack here. Hang out until Stannis gets here, because he needs you. You are the last Stark. So wait for Stannis, ally yourself with him, and he'll make you Wardeness of the North. And she's like, well, what if Stannis loses? Then you need to figure out how to control Bolton the Younger and keep him in line and rule the North through him. Or if you can pull it off, get him taken out, and you have to outmaneuver them. And he's like, and you've learned how to maneuver from me. I'm the best in the game. No one doesn't like me. And you have seen how I operate. Apply it. Mm-hmm. And then he kisses her, and she's like, hey, I'm going to be married the next time you see me. And he gives her a look that suggests he's not quite so convinced of that, suggesting he thinks Stannis may arrive before the nuptials can be carried out. Or that he doesn't care if she's married when he gets back.
Yep. Basically, we see a pimp named Littlefinger giving her the Ollie, you can do it. Just you can just do it. You'll be fine.
Go make this money.
Go make Daddy this money.
Yes, hit that
Well,
stroll, make this cash. Better put it in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then finally we get to the part that really just left everyone's jaws on the floor. We get to Marine. We start off with Danny and Sir Barristan talking, and Sir Barristan kind of gives her the rundown on more of what Rhaegar was actually like. He was very jovial. He was a singer. He liked to go down and be amongst the people and would see how much money he could make singing. Sometimes he would give it to other singers. Sometimes he would, donate it to orphanages. Other times he would just go and get drunk. And that he really was, not necessarily the monster Robert Baratheon makes him out to be, nor the kind of heartless, iron-fisted man who Viserys likes to make him out to be. And so Danny sends him down to go hang out. At the same time, Hizdar comes and asks Danny once again to open up the fighting pits, which she has no interest in, though he tries to explain to her, look, all we have here left are our traditions. There's nothing else that keeps us in common. So by destroying one of our great traditions, you risk destroying this entire country. And Danny still doesn't seem to be buying it. But from there, we jump to the streets of Marine, where the Sons of the Harpy have launched an attack, again with the help of, I believe, the same prostitute we see earlier. They jump out, kill a bunch of people, draw the Unsullied in, and then lure them all into traps where they begin killing all of them off. We see Grey Worm as one of them. They kill off most, if not all, the Sons of the Harpies. Sons of the Harpy. Grey Worm saves Sir Barristan from one last stab, but both of them slump to the floor unconscious, presumably dead, though we can't be 100% sure.
I was still pissed. It's like, you knew who the clan, aka the Sons of the Harpy,
Yes.
were roaming the street. You talking about going to sing?
Yes. The clan is out. They're riding, and Danny is letting her people wander around unprotected. And so Grey Worm gets jumped, and then Sir Barristan runs in to try and save him, but it just isn't enough. He gets overpowered. This, as I kind of talked about before, is a change from the books. It's also, if you watched the preview for the next episode right after, the preview makes pretty clear that Sir Barristan is dead. The very quick flash of a scene you see is Sir Barristan laying on a slab in the royal antechamber in state, similar to how they had like Tywin and Joffrey laying in state in kind of the Westeros tradition. So it's pretty clear Sir Barristan is dead. We don't see Grey Worm, though. We don't know if that's because maybe the Unsullied have their own burial traditions. Like, that's not, they don't lay in state. So we don't know if it's that, or if Grey Worm is recovering, and that's why we don't necessarily see him in that scene next to Sir Barristan. So we don't know if Grey Worm is alive or not. It's pretty clear that Sir Barristan is dead.
And Grey Worm faints beside him, so it's just like,
yeah.
Oh, Lord.
They got the homies. And I mean, this also goes to the fact that, as people have been talking about, Dany is effing up. She's being wishy-washy. She won't crack down on the masters. She, is trying to unify this country, but she's trying to do in a couple weeks what in America is still taking hundreds of years. Like, she's trying to go from antebellum to Civil War to the end of the first wave civil rights movement to the end of the Voting Registration Act in like a couple weeks. Like, this takes decades, this takes generations to fix. Like, you don't just get to walk up one day and go, all right, everyone's the same now, and walk off like, I solved this problem. Like, this takes so much time and work and understanding of culture and people and forced change and like military intervention, and like it's not just something you can snap your fingers and make happen, which is kind of part of why Dany also has to do this, because she doesn't know how to rule. She hasn't ruled anything. She was the leader of a small band of outcasts, and then paid a bunch of money that paid a dragon that she then took back to get an army of Unsullied, and then stormed a couple cities. She doesn't know how to rule. She barely knows how to lead. And this is kind of the result you get.
Dan's just screwing up left and right. You know how they say that friend who just needs an intervention?
Yeah.
It's Dany. She needs an intervention because she is just screwing up. So hopefully Tyrion gets to her soon.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Let's see. All right. We have come to... Actually, yeah. The picture preview for this next episode is Sir Barristan laying in state. The next episode that we are coming up on is Kill the Boy. The 5th episode. We'll be halfway through. It was directed by Jeremy Podeswa. His credits are The Five Senses and Fugitive Pieces. For television, he has directed episodes of Queer as Folk, The Tudors, Nip Tuck, The L Word, Camelot, The Borgias, and Rubicon. He also has directed episodes of 6 Feet Under, Carnival, Rome, Boardwalk Empire, True Blood, and 3 episodes of The Pacific.
Interesting resume.
Yes. So, I mean, a lot of very interesting shows, a lot of, at times, dense or tough shows. I mean, I don't know when he was directing in Nip Tuck, but if you want to talk about a show where some crazy stuff happens, that is certainly one of the ones that can get more out there. And I mean, just shows that have had some fairly solid runs and some fairly solid reviews. Obviously, a lot of people felt True Blood fell off, but Boardwalk Empire, Rome, 6 Feet Under, The Borgias, The L Word, The Tudors, Queer as Folk, Nip Tuck, like I said, a very solid resume, it looks like. I believe this episode is directed by written by Cogman. Let me check quickly and see if that's true. I think his episode was coming up here. For those who don't know, Brian Cogman is one of the other writers for Game of Thrones. He has directed a few episodes now. He's also one of the producers that has been brought on. Yes, this is one written by Brian Cogman. Let's see if I can pull up some of the other episodes Cogman has written. because he's done a couple now at least. Let's see. Yes, he did Oathkeeper last year, where Danny successfully takes Marine. Olenna intimates to Marjorie that she ordered the poisoning. Cersei orders Jamie to hunt down and kill Sansa. Jamie gives the task along with the sword Oathkeeper to Brienne. He also did the Laws of God and Men, where Stannis appeals to the Iron Bank. Yara goes to try and save her brother Reek / Theon. And Tyrion is brought to trial for Joffrey's murder. So he directed those episodes. So, I mean, he has also some solid episodes under his belt. Yeah, he did Kissed by Fire. So some pretty decent major episodes he's directed.
That reminds me, how funny was it that Cersei basically sent Daddy Terrell away from the capital? And she was like, oh, this is going to be your guy. You're going to go to the Iron Bank to talk to them about yada, yada, yada. And I'm like,
yep, she got him out the way and then attacks his kids. And like we said, Sir Meryn Trant went with him. So there's a chance that she may be trying to kill him off too.
Yep. Don't trust that heifer over there.
All right. So the summary for this upcoming episode is Danny makes a difficult decision in Marine. Jon recruits the help of an unexpected ally. Brienne searches for Sansa, and Theon remains under Ramsay's control. So we're going to see more of Danny in Marine since the attack on Grey Worm and Sir Barristan. We're going to see some more of Jon Snow at the Wall. I'm going to guess, I would think it's probably going to be something with the wildlings, but I guess we can't really be sure. Brienne continues her search for Sansa, so we'll get to see more of her and Pod as they travel towards Winterfell. And then Theon likely will have some interactions with Sansa as well as Ramsay. I know in the preview we see what looks to be Ramsay. The first time I looked at it, I thought it was Ramsay having sex with Sansa, but it's actually probably the girl who he was hunting people with the beginning of last season. It looks like him having sex with her in one of the towers. So we'll probably also get to see some of her feelings towards Sansa, because she was giving her all the side eye when she showed up to get married to Ramsay.
Who gives Joffrey a run for his money on the crazy section.
Yes. And so, but this episode is called Kill the Boy. The note on here is that the title of this episode is apparently a reference to a prominent quote from the novels. Maester Aemon advises Jon Snow about growing into a man of the Night's Watch, how he must mature into it and make selfless decisions. He therefore repeats to him the same advice he gave his own brother Aegon when he was crowned king. Kill the boy and let the man be born. So this episode is Kill the Boy.
Hopefully that boy isn't going to be Tommen, because if so...
Well, that is the other potential, that Tommen or, well, I mean, Loras we wouldn't really call a boy. So it could also be a reference to Dany. It says she has to make a tough decision. So they could be using the boy in a more general sense and saying that Dany needs to grow up.
And then, of course, Marjorie, we're going to see if her and Grandma Olenna.
Yes, hopefully we will get some. Hopefully we'll get some Grandma Olenna. I wouldn't be shocked if they skip her this episode and we don't actually get to see her until sometime next week. just because of, I mean, you'll notice they definitely are dropping and adding plot lines per episode. So I think we've probably gotten like 4-5 major areas each time, and they kind of drop and add people as they need to there. So I don't know how much King's Landing we're going to get in this one, since we spent a lot of time there this last episode. But if we could get some Lady Olenna this or next episode, that'd be pretty cool.
So I'm looking forward to see what's going to go happen, especially with the Sand Snakes. Let's see how House Pharrell strikes back. And we're going to see if Danny ever gets some ish together.
Yes. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited to see where this is going, especially as someone who's read the books. So I know as much as you at this point about what I'm sure is going to happen. I could probably draw some conclusions based on the books, but it's going to definitely be interesting to see. Cece, any final thoughts before we get out of here and I go get something to eat?
Final thoughts is just it was a very, very good episode. Like, they are progressively getting better and better and better. I'm like, oh, this is good. This one's even better. This one's even better.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, they're definitely raising the bar.
Of course, it kind of threw me because even though this was labeled Sons of the Harpies, I thought we were going to see a lot more of them, but they came in like in the last 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah, it was definitely strange that they kind of just threw it in at the end. Also, this episode felt a little short. When I was rewatching it today. Yeah. Like, I was rewatching it today before we got on here, and it was like, this is not that long of an episode. We're already at the Matt Marine, and I knew that was the end of the episode. So I was like, this has been a really they've packed a lot into this season. They've definitely pushed the plot forward, but it has been a bunch of shorter episodes, which is kind of strange. So.
But actually, all the episodes this season just about end up before 9:55.
Yeah, and they don't start till 8:05. So they've been shortening you. They've been shortening you on your run time, but we haven't been shortening you because we are clearing 57 minutes on here. So we have spent more time talking about each of these shows than they've necessarily actually been on the air. That is the kind of thorough recap that you can expect from us here at Gotcha Thrones. Like I said, I'm really excited to see the next episode to get into a little bit more of what Dany is doing, and hopefully her starting to turn stuff around in Marine to get the rest of the housekeeping stuff out the way. Once again, this is Gotcha Thrones, part of Three Fifths Podcast. If you like this podcast, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Visit us on threefifthspodcast.com. We will have the links for the audio version of this up there. It will also be available on Stitcher. Search Three Fifths Podcast, 3 spelled out, on Stitcher, and you will find this podcast as well as the Three Fifths Podcast show. Leave us a 5-star review there, and we will read it on the air. Think that is everything. You can follow us on Twitter at the number 3 fifths FIFS podcast on Twitter. You can follow her at Carmilla Lusta. You can follow me at AYRRYK. We live tweet random stuff. I know Cece has been live tweeting Game of Thrones. I don't know if there's too many other shows you've been on lately. I live tweet randomly. I will also probably be getting into the new Secret Wars that is coming out, so I may be tweeting some stuff out about that as I read it. Also, look out for me and Justin and possibly Brian doing Age of Ultron as well as Daredevil. We're going to try and work out some time to do a special podcast on just those because me and Justin have both seen Age of Ultron, I think a couple times each, and we both finished Daredevil, so we're gonna try and do recap or reviews of that coming up here soon, and possibly throw in some Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So a lot of Marvel stuff coming up, obviously. Marvel has been out there killing it lately. So we're probably going to try and get something special together to put out for you guys there too. We have our regular show tomorrow. It's probably going to be more current events because we spent all of last episode on Baltimore. So we're going to try and fill in some of the stuff we didn't get to talk about because of that. But this is Got Your Thrones. Like, subscribe, 5-star review us, please. All of those metrics help determine where we rank on things. It also, for like on YouTube, it also gives us access to more things. The more likes we have, the more subscribers we have. It shows advertisers as well as YouTube that people like us, that you're visiting us, and it will cause them to push us up higher in rankings so that more people can see us. It'll cause them to promote us more. It will also increase any potential revenue from actual episodes and ads so that we can start to do some more cool things, such as also just being able to buy better equipment, purchase more shows, potentially get access to stuff like screeners and sneak previews. So what you all do there helps. Sharing our tweets helps. Anything you can do to help us get our name out there, we really appreciate it. And I've gone on this for a while. I know you all have stuff to do. I have stuff to do. So we are going to get out of here. Thank you once again, Cece, for doing these with me.
You're welcome.
And thank you, everyone out there who is listening. We really do appreciate it. If you weren't listening, it would just be us here randomly talking to ourselves. And they tend to lock people who do that kind of thing up. So this all works out because of you all. So thank you once again.
Well, it wouldn't be just talking to ourselves. We'd be talking to each other.
Yes. Thanks to you, we are talking to each other. And so that is what really counts. But yes, so thank you all, and thank you, Cece, once again. We have been Got Your Thrones on 3-Fifths Podcast, and we are done for this week. See you tomorrow for 3-Fifths Podcast, possibly sometime else this week for our special all Marvel review and recap, and next week for Game of Thrones after Kill the Boy. See you.
Goodbye.